and welcome to another edition of Heartful Living. Here we are with my dear friend Lauran Thomas for a heart to heart in the beautiful Edwards, Colorado, my home away from home. We're currently at the base of our ski mountain. This is actually what it looks like in the summer. And today we're going to talk about therapy, faith, and modern healing. Lauran, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
So Lauran and I go way back. Our children were actually in a pod during COVID here at the Vail Christian Academy, and we've been friends ever since. And she is the coolest therapist I know who integrates a faith-integrated approach into her clinical therapy. Can you tell us more about that, Lauran?
Yeah, so secular counseling is what we call it, right? So I trained in a typical university, and then over time with my own personal journey of faith, and realizing that if you are working in an environment where you're working to help people, if you show up inauthentic, or like pieces of you just don't come into the room,
Right.
that you're missing something, like something's just not there. And so maybe, I don't know, it's probably 16 years ago, I was like, wow, I just feel like I'm not helping people as much as I want to. And what's the problem? What's the holdup? And so, yeah, I guess between God and I, we just kind of started talking about it and figuring out what was needed. And that's when I shifted and said, well, I'm not a Christian counselor, but I want it to be really clear for my clients that I come from a deep relationship myself with Jesus Christ. And if they want that to be discussed, and how we find joy in sadness and how we find joy in hardship and make sense of trials that just don't make sense, then I could help them navigate that. And so then I kind of got this word integrated, which means if you want it, it's available. If you don't, that's okay too, because I love everybody. And so however that looks for the person walking in the door is what I want to offer.
That's amazing. And was this an organic evolution for you from when you started your career as a therapist?
I can tell you my own faith journey had its ups and downs when I was probably in my early 20s, which is kind of in that place of when I'm going to grad school. And not that I ever stopped believing, but I just wasn't practicing relationship.
Sure.
And so I would say more it started evolving when I got married, when I started thinking about wanting to become a mom. And that's when I was like, wow, I could just do something greater, and shift it. And I didn't really make this shift, except what I started doing was marketing myself, if you will, to churches and to faith-based institutions, to schools. And that was like, wow, we haven't had this. And so then that's how it developed. And I would say it was less me and all God.
That's amazing. And you have a long background also in Europe. Did this start organically forming while you were living out in Europe, or did it start once you came back?
No, it started in Europe. We were going to an international Baptist church, and mental health was not talked about. We lived in Germany, and counseling was a faux pas, and people did not seek therapy for intrinsic struggle. You should just be able to manage that. You should just be able to deal with that. But then we also had this military community where there wasn't any options.
Sure.
And the base was so small, and so they were serving the active duty. But then you have what they call dependents, which are the family members,
Sure.
and there's nobody to give treatment to them. And so I literally started working this way, faith integrated, in a church, in a children's classroom. And so I like to tell the residents that I train now, I'm like, where you sit and do your work is
That's
not
amazing.
important.
I did not know that. We never even touched up on
Yeah.
how you grew into this and how it kind of just organically became to be.
Yeah.
So I should back up at this point and mention that Lauran is married to a veteran at this point.
Yep.
Thank you for your service,
Yep.
Jeff. And you moved around a lot.
Yeah, we did. I would say he moved around probably more. I feel like I got him in the best part of his career. So he had already been in serving for 10 years when I met him. So I feel like I got the upper echelon of his service. And so, yeah, we moved a lot, but we had at least good duty stations. Yeah, my daughter was born in Hawaii. We were in Germany. We were in DC a couple times.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was super, super fun.
That's incredible. I had no idea that this all started and took place, and it was like birthed out of the
Mm-hmm.
your what is it, that the base, military
Yeah.
base? That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the common misconception people have on therapy? Not only in the U.S., I would say. I mean, you kind of touched already upon Europe,
Mm-hmm.
but in general, what is the main misconception people have?
I think the one big misconception is you have to have a problem to seek help. And acknowledging or even knowing if you have a problem, which I don't agree with, by the way, is so hard, because mental health is about the brain, the heart space, the emotions, the body. It's how all that operates, and then how you involve yourself in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, there is just an evolution of who you come in contact with, what situations alarmed you or brought you back to old past things, and how did you deal with that? And so mental health is really the idea of learning how to acknowledge that your brain is a muscle and it has to work. And then your emotions are part of the things that we were gifted with to kind of be signals about what's going on in the world. And so if you don't know how those things operate together,
Right.
then you might be just finding yourself really down and uncomfortable, or you might feel finding yourself like super worried and stressed all the time. You might be finding yourself not being able to relate to other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem. That's just living. And
Right.
so I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to have a problem.
Sure.
So
The flip of the coin, Lauren,
mhm.
in today's generation where mental health is just freely spoken about and it's not so taboo, because
Mhm.
I love to break taboos on Heartful
Mhm.
Living. What would you say to those that just self-diagnose themselves ADHD, ADD, ASD, something I've learned recently, imposter syndrome?
Mhm.
And how do you deal with that in your office with somebody that comes in and says, "This is what I have, doctor"?
That's a hard one. Well, it would be the same thing as going to like Dr. Google and
Mhm.
diagnosing that you have a tumor. And so, or diagnosing that you have diabetes,
Right.
like we go and we seek information out,
Sure.
and we have this resource, the internet. So why not, right? Why not use it? But it's information seeking.
Right.
It's not coming to a conclusion. And so, yeah, go for it. Information seek. Like, why do I struggle like this? Tons of blogs about it. Go for it. But then when you come in to seek help, let the professional do the diagnosing. So, one, you get the accurate treatment that you need. And two, that you're not living by a label,
Sure.
but that you're actually learning how to understand yourself from the root of where something might come from. And that takes a clinical approach.
Of course.
I might be able to say, oh, I know why I have, okay, I'm super vulnerable. So my dad passed away when I was young. And so a lot of people would label that, maybe I have relational trust issues with my husband because I'm fearful that he's going to
Sure.
die. Okay, we could theorize that,
Right.
but is that accurate? I would much rather a professional sit and process that with me so that I could determine, is that something that I struggle with or is it not? Because just because someone has a deep wound does not mean they have trauma from it.
Sure.
And so we don't want to assume.
Right. So is it hard from your side of the couch to kind of reverse that when they come in and say, I have ADD, I cannot concentrate, give me that medicine, I need it?
Yeah.
And you realize, no, that's not the root of the problem.
Well, good thing is I don't have to prescribe medicine. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I ask people, could we just talk through all this a little bit before we put any label on it? And I promise you, if you have a diagnosable condition, I will provide you with the evidence in the DSM that shows you the criteria that you will be diagnosed with. But I just ask their permission.
Sure.
I'm like, I understand something about this is making you feel
Sure.
empowered. And
Yeah.
I don't want to take that empowerment away from you. But can we get to know each other before we try to treat something that I haven't actually seen yet?
Right. Of course, you've got to have proof. You've got to
Yeah.
have the evidence.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about this new imposter syndrome that I am talking about. The last time I brought it up to you, you go, that's not even a real diagnosis. I go, no kidding, because everybody's talking about it these days.
Yeah. So when we say real diagnoses, there is actually a book. It's about this big, should have brought it for you, but it's called the DSM,
Right.
which is a diagnostic manual where we get our understanding of how to diagnose someone. But that's not in there. And so it's really just a catchphrase that people are grabbing to. And that happens a lot, right? Oh, it's like you feel connected to someone else because, oh, yeah, me too.
Right.
I feel this as well. Oh, I've experienced that as well. So when people are using imposter syndrome, it's that, and I was sharing this with you, I think that it's like, it's really about like not having confidence in something that they're naming that they do. So I might say, as a clinician, I might have had imposter syndrome, if you wanted to use that, 15 years ago,
Okay.
when I had not really studied couples.
Okay.
And I might have been working with couples because I could, based on my license, but I just didn't have that special training that I think is necessary. And so I might have been like, oh, I kind of feel like an imposter sitting here with this couple. Do I really have the training for this? Well, I had the base training.
Sure.
But like anybody, if we want to do something well, we want to get advanced in it.
Okay.
And so I think that happens with teachers. I think it happens with photographers. I think it happens with, tech support. Gosh, I just feel like an imposter right now.
Right.
And it's more that I don't feel prepared enough for this.
Okay.
And I need more. And so what I actually tell people is because it's a confidence thing.
Right.
Right.
You're
and
lacking confidence.
Yes.
You're lacking, your self-esteem isn't boosted enough for you to carry on the task you're set to do.
Yeah. And so instead of like sitting in it and just feeling bad about yourself, do something about it. So go get extra training, go sit down and talk with someone that's done this before, right? Like whatever that might be.
Right.
To like go, oh,
sense.
I'm rooted in this. I can do this.
Oh, okay. That's new to me. I'm so glad. Thank you for teaching me, because honestly, this new generation where they self-diagnose and they know, because WebMD these days, I mean, I am also guilty of going to WebMD and going,
yeah, me too.
Oh my goodness, that's it. I got shingles. It's not sea lice, guys. Forget this. This is where we're going. Grey's Anatomy. I've watched enough shows to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, the internet for this generation is very dangerous, I would say, because they think they know it all.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It is a very powerful
thing. And I think that if I can just expand there a little bit, I also think we're coming in the younger generation, maybe the newly graduated high school, early college years. We got to remember where they're coming from. And they were coming from a season of COVID, which was isolation. And so they now have created that they can figure it out on their own. And so we want to...
I didn't even think of this.
We want to empower them to go, hey, wait, we're not intended to do life alone. And so, yeah, talking with a therapist, going out and getting an internship in something to strengthen or bolster your confidence. Like that's a volunteer. Like we're meant to do life in relationship.
Interesting.
And so I do think that that's why this is kind of a little bit larger right now.
Oh, wow. You've just opened my eyes to another facet of COVID that I hadn't even considered yet, because I'm always talking to everybody about how I feel that our kids are learning what was our kindergarten is now their first grade. What's our fifth grade is now their second grade. So how do you feel right now seeing it on your side of the couch in terms of the academic pressures that we're seeing in kids? At what age do you start seeing it? Is it propelled because of COVID and all this information that is at their grasp these days? How bad is it getting for our generation, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see. I think we've got some studies to do about the kids that were in lower grades during COVID versus upper grades in COVID. But we have, I mean, I can tell you a personal story. We're sitting in Germany, and my daughter at the time was 3.5, 4, and it was our first year there. And all of my American friends had their kids in preschool. 1 or 2 days a week, and they're talking about their kids are reading and their kids are naming their ABCs and their kids are counting. And I'm sitting there going,
Savannah doesn't know
Savannah
this.
doesn't know this.
Yeah.
She's trying to speak German, and she's in German school. And
Yeah.
so I started feeling this pressure to like do more with her at home and to work more. And I was so thankful that I can't remember whatever hit me, but like, I'm like, wait, she's getting something different and that's okay. And so learning that our children can be different and what they're gaining at one season or age can look different than their peer, that was such a like relief.
Yeah.
I had to go through some like
Absolutely.
comparisons, which by the way is not healthy, but I had to go through that to be able to go, wait, hang on, how am I raising my daughter? And so I think the same thing hits when we're in school age, is that from teachers to peers to parents, we're seeing everybody else doing these things and we're forgetting that our little kiddo is their own unique being, and we need to kind of let them develop and thrive at their own rate. And no one is the same, right? Everyone is different. And so then we get to the kids that are now being told, they're taking their PSATs and they're doing these things. It's now maybe the drive is not coming from home. Maybe the drive is coming from the system. And what is that doing to people? It's creating an imbalance in who they're supposed to be developmentally at this time. And so maybe they're just not ready for the things we're asking for them, even when they academically can do it. So we have
emotionally and socially, they're not there, even if they're there academically.
We have an IQ and we have an EQ. Right? And so the IQ is the academics, the E is the emotional.
Sure.
And so if we don't also strengthen the E, the emotional side of our child, then academically they're going to be really capable, but they're not going to be able to function in the world, which is why they're going to fail out of college because they aren't prepared. Or that's why when they get into a pressurized situation and there is, they're not number one, they're not going to know how to handle that.
Sure.
Right. And so we're wanting to try to balance those two things. And I think we've hit a place in our culture in America where we've pushed the IQ higher
over EQ.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about the difference between raising boys and raising girls. But you brought up a very interesting thing that, by the time they get to college, they're like, whoa, what's going on? And you are a huge advocate for a gap year or a non-traditional year from high school to college. Tell me why, because I found that little tidbit so fascinating. It's cooking in the back of my head for my own kids.
Yeah. And I would say I am a proponent for what the kid needs. There are some kids who are just emotionally developed and they are ready. Go for it if you're ready. But it's okay to not be on the fast track. Like you could get a scholarship and you can defer it.
Yeah.
You can get even an athletic scholarship and you can defer it. Like it's okay to go, you know what if you wanted to go explore, why do I need to name my degree in my freshman year when I haven't even gotten out into the world and tried, right? So why would I want someone to say in their freshman year that they want to be a doctor when they haven't even gone and like shadowed?
They don't even know if they're scared of blood yet.
Right.
If they're going to pass out.
Can you sit and watch someone that is actually in agonizing pain in the hospital? So why not go be a candy striper? I know that's an old term. I don't know what they're called now. But like, why not go and do something in a hospital setting for 6 months or a year to expose yourself to the work that you think you might want to do? And so, when we lived in Europe, it was very common. It was required. So kids were not allowed that wanted to go to university. They were not allowed to go without having a year of residence fellowship, whatever you want to call it, right? Where they went and they practiced. So someone let them come in and shadow and even do some things, but they got to practice before they can declare what they're going to study.
I love that. And honestly, I think it's such a great idea. And in today's world, you mentioned something interesting to me the other day when we talked about this. And you said that a lot of people end up at your office because they were pushed into something that they didn't want to do, but they were on this fast track and it just kind of led to this destruction. And they're sitting on your couch at age 30, 40, whatever, saying, I'm so unhappy with my life because I chose the wrong career path.
Yeah, it's this unhappiness, right? And so that's another misnomer, is that we're supposed to be happy all the time, but that's not true. And so it's this idea that like I kept going in a path I thought I was supposed to, but but I hadn't figured myself out enough to know if that was the path I actually wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing happens is like giving permission. When kids hit a spot in college and they're like, I'm just not enjoying studying biology, or I'm not enjoying studying engineering, it's giving them permission to make an exit,
A pivot.
and pivot somewhere else, without the pressure of, well, you started, now you got to finish.
Yeah.
Yes, we want our kids to learn how to persevere and to have grit,
Mm-hmm.
but not when it is at the expense of like their enjoyment in something they're going to do the rest of their lives. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then that's another thing. How many times have I sat with people and said, do you want to continue doing what you're doing? And somebody might say, well, what other option do I
Right,
have?
they're stuck.
And I'm like, I don't know, go back to school. I don't
Yeah.
know, practice a trade. I don't know,
Right.
like options. And so I want that to be also something that's offered to younger people, are these options. Not everyone is made out to go to college. Not everyone is made out to be in AP classes. Not everyone, right?
And I think that's a conversation that you and I can definitely have in another session
Mhm.
about it's okay to go to trade school.
Yeah.
It's okay that you're not going to be a doctor.
Yep.
It's okay that the world, there's plenty of doctors.
Yeah.
Like if you love it, go for it. But
Yeah.
there's a million of jobs out there. You
Yeah.
got to do what makes you happy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
For
because
sure.
if not, you're going to see Lauren on the couch.
And you're going to wonder why you're not happy.
Right.
And then you're also going to hear, well, happiness isn't something that we are guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so sometimes
Isn't that the truth?
it's also sometimes we're actually just supposed to be uncomfortable. And that's
So
okay too.
Speaking of uncomfortable, teenage boys are so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the difference. You were talking about EQ,
Mhm.
emotional intelligence. I feel like, boys in puberty and prepubescent boys lack that. At least that's what I'm seeing. Please don't judge.
Maybe because you're living with one.
Maybe
I
because
don't
I'm
know.
living with, a 13-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl who's just so sassy, and I see it coming. But I do see a difference between boys and girls
Mhm.
in their emotional growth.
Mhm.
You must see it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah. I choose not to work with young people, just not my specialty, young kids. But I start working with kids when they're 12, 13. So
Okay.
right in that development of puberty, and they're pushing into it. And so what I would say is that we as a society have put these, girls, boys, and we actually, and because I'm faith integrated, yes, actually God intended for us to be different. But we are supposed to actually understand the difference, not just go, well, that's a boy, that's a girl. What we want to do is to go, wow, what's actually going on with them? And we
I'm dying to know.
with science. So what we know is that boys develop slower emotionally than girls. So then why are we holding them to the exact same standard? Why aren't we allowing boys to have a second recess? And girls too, if they want it, but they could do something else if they want. My daughter would much rather than a second recess at 14. She would much rather be developing things on Canva, right? Like she loves that. So like giving some free choice, not assuming that everyone needs the same things in their day. And I have seen this improving, and so I don't want to say that nothing's happening. I love that they're offering more study halls for older kids.
These flies keep following
Yeah,
us.
they do. But that's a really cool thing, because
Right.
you could go to the gym and work out on your study hall if you needed it,
Sure.
So I do see that they're trying, but that emotional transition for a boy and a girl looks really different. Also, boys internalize their emotional transition and girls externalize their emotional transition. Again, these are all just normatives. It does not mean everyone.
Yeah.
And so we got to pay attention to that. So who's actually taking the boy out and doing what we call shoulder to shoulder activity,
Yeah.
and talking about how they feel? Who's doing that with them? I hope people are, but if you're not, we want to be.
Yeah.
Whereas a girl, we take them out for coffee and we gab,
Right.
and then girls spill the beans, right? They're telling me the tea. But what we really want boys to do is we want to get shoulder to shoulder activities. So in like our practice, I engage my therapist by saying, go shoot hoops, take them for a walk, go on a nature trail and talk about what you're seeing, and then integrate emotional conversation don't make them sit in an office space. We play games a lot at the office.
Yeah.
Man, the amount of emotion you can get out of Uno is pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know,
That's
and
so great.
what about the other one? The ice game where you're like cracking the
Oh,
ice.
crack the ice and
Yes,
oh
and
my
then the
God,
thing
yes.
falls through. Right. So the amount of emotion
Yes.
you can get in gaming is really a
Yes.
good thing. So be interested more in how they relate versus how you want them to relate.
Tell me they'll get there though.
Give
Tell me
them
they'll get there.
mid-20s.
Mid-20s. Okay, well,
Yeah.
so how does that translate to men versus women in terms of therapy?
Yeah.
Do you find that it's harder for men to seek help than women?
100%, yes. Unless they grew up in a home with a therapist. But no, I'm kidding. But unless they grew up in a home where they were free
Yeah.
to not have it all figured out. Men collectively, culturally,
Yes.
have been shaped to not seek help. They're
Sure.
supposed to just man up and figure it out, right? And so that's the messaging that they've been given. And so most of the time, women are more likely to seek help when they're just struggling,
Yeah.
and men won't seek help until they're in crisis. So until their marriage has failed, until they've lost their jobs, until their kids won't speak to them, like that's crisis, right? And
Right.
so a lot of times I don't see them until they hit that point.
So women go in proactively and men go when the shit hits the fan. Is that kind of
I would say on a norm, yes. On a norm, yes. And
we tell it like it is here.
might not even be proactive.
Okay.
Like, right? It might not be that women do it proactively. It's that women are comfortable stating
Yeah.
that they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so the more women just have more practice with it. I mean, think about what we do, women to women. When I
We
get together with my
gossip.
girlfriends, we sit down and we have coffee and we're chatting, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about life. What do men do? They go golfing,
Right.
or they go
Right.
play tennis, or they go mountain bike, or they go skiing, and they're on a chairlift with someone for about 2 or 3 minutes,
And they don't talk.
and they're just talking about the run,
Right.
right? And so we just have been brought up to do it differently.
Right.
And so then when a man is feeling emotionally overwhelmed, they don't know what to do with that. And
Yeah.
so my encouragement is that go seek help,
Right.
because you're no different than a woman when it comes to the inner workings of our emotions.
Right. And is it safe to say that what I am assuming is that the biggest hurdle that they have when they come in, because you see a lot of couples, and that's actually one of your specialties,
Mm-hmm.
is communication the biggest hurdle that you see in terms of husband and wife, partner and partner, when they go and see you on the couch?
Yeah, I would say, again, if it's not a crisis,
Yeah.
right? If we
Right.
haven't hit crisis point and they're like, we're going to get divorced if we don't do something, or one of the partners says, I'm leaving you, right? So if we're not in crisis, or I would say another crisis is actually tragedy. So the loss of a parent, the loss of a child,
Yeah.
right? Like something that's too big and that everybody outside would even say is too big. And so
Yeah.
then you have permission, right? But otherwise, I would say that, we're not getting along, we can't talk, we don't do fun things together, because what's happened in the relationship is, instead of being in unity,
Yeah.
things have gotten hard, and instead of working on the hard, they've started living independent lives. And then they're like, why don't we know each other? Why don't we do anything fun together? Why don't we ever have a date night? Well,
Right.
it's because you've been living independent lives together. And so you're getting your needs met in places that are not your spouse, and then vice versa.
But it's not to say that you can't come back together. You're not that too
Yeah.
far gone. You're never too far gone.
You are never too far gone. Never, 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 never. There's only, in the science of studying coupleships, there's only one time that we don't advocate relationships working on it, and that's when they have characterological violence, which is where one partner is not able to be owning the responsibility of the harm they're causing to another person.
So tell us more about your workshops for couples.
Yeah, that's super
And
fun.
what they look like.
I call them an extended date. So when I do a workshop, I set up the environment where you are not talking with other couples. You are not going there to try to hear from other people and how they're doing it. You're going to be taught. So it's more like a teaching environment and then a practice environment. And so everybody's at their own table. So couple to couple, I like to set it up with candles and white
Oh,
tablecloths and flowers. And again, you're on an extended date talking about tough things with guidance. And so it's an extended time. Typically a workshop is going to be 2 to 3 days. And so you're committing to your relationship.
mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is that you're committing to getting rid of the distractions. And so I ask people, do not work on these days and do not have your kids.
Right.
And so I want you to get away, even if you're in your own hometown. Send your kids somewhere else or you go somewhere else so that when the workshop is done, you're just together.
Right. And you typically travel for these
I
workshops.
do.
You love to set these up. How many couples do you see in a workshop when somebody calls you to their location?
Yeah, it depends on who's hosting it.
Okay.
But I have had as small as like 8. And it was for a group wanting to show that this was okay, right?
That's amazing.
And so I have had a group of 8, and then a group of 8 couples, and then I've had as much, I think the largest one I had was about 44 couples.
Wow, how fun.
Yeah. And again, it depends on the size because you have to sit at your own table, you're not, right? And so when I'm working with groups or organizations that want to host this, we start really talking about where can they, how can they, and then sometimes they have to cut the limit because of that. That is my vision, and that's what works. I mean, how many people want to go to a workshop and talk to other people about their problems?
Nobody does.
Yucky.
Yeah.
And that's going to keep people away.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's in the ultimate confidence.
Yes.
Nobody hears everybody else's conversations because you're on a date with your significant other.
Exactly. And then you have activities constantly that I'm giving you based on a teaching that I just did.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching you something, and then I'm giving you an activity to share together. And then, of course, we do Q&A. And so if anybody wants to ask questions, but I have case studies that I use that have gotten permission from where I can give examples of what to do well and what's not well.
I love that.
And so then it really makes it interactive in terms of like, oh, you heard how not to do it. Okay, now let's see if you can do it better.
I hope you come to Miami to do one soon.
I would love to.
Yeah,
I would love to.
You guys are listening.
That's right.
So you not only do intensives for couple workshops, but you also like to partner up with businesses and involve yourself in their organizations to improve the culture.
Yeah, right. Because think about any business. If somebody comes in and they are having a struggle in their family or in their marriage, and they come in and they try to work, are you getting their most effective work? Are you getting their most like dialed in, hitting the spot work? Probably not, because they're distracted. We have people joining. But no. So what I really love is for if there's a company or organization that says, hey, we want to be able to say to our company, we have a culture of wellness in the household. Because when you're well at home, you do your best work.
Absolutely.
And so if we can create that culture in a business, then it's saying, hey, maybe I'm coming in to do things. I mean, I do talks on parenting. I do talks on marriage. I do talks on mental health and advocacy to like say, you're your best self at work when you're your best self at home.
And I think it's also important for everybody to know at this point also is that it does not have to be a faith integrated approach.
No,
you're very comfortable with adding it or excluding it.
That's right.
Because you're just interested in the best interest of the person.
That's right. The whole person.
And then on top of that, you also do telehealth nationally.
I do.
I mean, do you have time for all this?
I do. And this is the tricky thing. So when somebody, because with licensing, you have to be licensed in every state that you practice.
Okay.
They're working on that. It's really hopeful right now that they're going to get what's called reciprocity so that you don't have to reapply for every state.
Sure.
Right. So there is a compact and they're working on that. But in the moment, what I do is if a couple, an individual needs something that's very dialed and specific, I can do coaching. But the other thing is that I will hook them up with someone that's not me, or they can travel to Colorado or I can travel to them.
That's amazing.
And that's when we do intensives. So when I travel, and let's say we have a couple that's in just a really hard place and they haven't been able to find the right clinician for them, then I do what's called an intensive. And so they either can travel to Colorado or I can travel to them. And then I'm able to do the work. And so that looks like 3 days of just this one couple, and we're doing an intensive. And so you get about 16 hours of therapy in 2.5 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And it overwhelms most people.
I'm sure it does.
And what I say is, remember, I do this. I know how to time it right.
Right.
And so when you've had too much, we take a break because it's your time.
Sure.
There's no clock on you.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, today I'm done and I can see that,
Yeah.
then we're going to figure out what to do to create that time in another way. Or we take longer breaks, or, because it's your time.
It's curated.
Yeah, exactly. Every couple is different.
Well, that sounds amazing. If anybody here who's listening today wants to reach you, how can they reach you?
So my website is keystoneservices.biz.
Okay.
And then my email is counseling@keystoneservices.biz.
Well, we're going to add all of that.
Yeah.
So people can reach you.
And I would say any therapist. I don't give out phone numbers except until you're a client, because no therapist can answer their phone.
Of course.
Because we're in sessions all day. And so returning a phone call is the hardest thing, but returning an email, I've got a 5-minute break. I can always return an email.
That sounds like a great plan. Lauran, thank you so much for
This was
sharing
so
your
fun.
story with us and talking all things therapy and breaking cliches and walls with us today.
Yeah.
And I hope the next time I'm here, this is full of snow and we're talking about something else.
And maybe we're doing it on the mountain in our snow gear.
Let me tell you, I have thought about doing interviews on the ski lift. So
I think that would be so fun.
how much can we get in 5 minutes?
That's right. Speed dating.
Speed dating, speed skiing, speed therapy.
That's right.
Lauran, thank you again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.